Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to all of y'all. Big Brother season 24 is over. Can you believe it? It seems like just yesterday we were talking about the cast on another season all wrapped. That is incredible to think that I was on season 21. We just finished season 24. That just blows me away. Now, we did have COVID and a lot of things taking place in between, but we're going to talk all about the episode tonight. If you got questions that aren't Big Brother related, come on in. We'll talk about those as well. But I expect it's all going to be Big Brother tonight, and I'm happy to talk about it. What a fun season. So let me start it off with a big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, love reality TV. I especially love Big Brother. Love all the fans and y'all guys out here that support me every single Monday night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on replay, either one, thank you for all the support that you can continue to give me, both through the Big Brother season and in the off season as well. God, it feels like an off season. I feel like the Super Bowl just got finished up, and now I'm ready to go. I just hang out and take a nap. Take a little nap sounds pretty good. But welcome to all of y'all. Before we talk about anything else, I say it quite a few times. I'll say it once or twice tonight. If you haven't already signed up, subscribe to my channel, please consider doing so. Big Brother's over for the year, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to continue doing this show on Monday nights. I'm covering Survivor 43. I think I'll probably cover the challenge. I kind of have to with Sis and Tommy both be on there, right? So I think I'll probably cover the challenge, and who knows what else I'm going to cover. So consider subscribing in my channel, turn on notifications. So if I decide to drop a video at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll get notification. Doesn't mean you got to go out there and watch it too, but you'll get the notification. And while you're out there, you can get a little thumbs up. I always appreciate that as well. All right. Welcome aboard to all of y'all. Hope y'all are doing great. Hope y'all have recovered from celebrating, from the stress, from hair turning gray, whatever it is watching that. It was a fun 2-hour episode. I enjoyed it. All right. So as we go into that, let me just do a quick little shout out to all my friends that are out there. Howdy Kiki, howdy Nelly, Abby Love 12, Amanda Lowe, Marilyn Sutherland, Just Micah, Brian Hosteller. Hey Brian, how are you doing? Cindy Hire. Hey Cindy. Jake the Horror Movie Geek. Man, I watched an interesting video. We'll talk about that later, Jake. I watched kind of a scary movie last night. Ma's angry that Twitter hadn't been deleted. Hey Ma, how are you doing? Special shout out to Ma, who has done so much to support me in this channel, helping out as a moderator and all that. So thank you, Ma. And thank you, Brian, as well, for doing the same thing. Melissa Scarnagel as well. Andy W. GW91975. How you doing, GW? Mark Taylor as well. Hey, Mark, how are you? Lucinda S. Angie Hung. Angie told me she's going to be out here. Angie, you're so busy. I know how much... how limited your time is. So thank you. I appreciate it. Absolutely. And who else do we have out here? I'm going to go through here real quick. Michelle Moore, if I didn't say you before. Howdy, Michelle. Paula Scar as well. Anuez 1919. Patty Bell. Hey, Patty. Andrea. Let's see. Rexy. Jazz. I think I said Cindy before, didn't I, Cindy? Hey, but I'll say it again. Dan Pruitt, Birdman, Carly Hunt, Vicky Stone, Don Budd. Hey, Don, I haven't seen you out here in a while. Welcome, welcome. D. Ellis, Nick Mason, Ronnie Hittner, Janie Haven. I'll go through this quick, guy. Jenny Gazafi, TJ Kaz. I got so many folks out here. Barbarella Haymaker. I love that login name. Shelly Gun Calves. Is that close enough? I hope so. JC Wilham. I think I said Paula Scarva. I'll say it again. And I think we'll shut it down about then. Aizuro Kirishima. Bear with me. That's the best I get. All right, Robin Lee as well. And if I missed any, Christian Pruitt. All right, one more. And Train Driver Carl. How do you leave out Train Driver Carl? And if I missed any of y'all, sorry guys. But I appreciate all of y'all out here. I absolutely do. How much fun. So who was surprised? Who wasn't so surprised by the finale last night? I'll fess up. I went on record saying that if Monty and Turner were the final two, I thought Monty was going to win it going away. I thought he was going to dominate. And I'll stand by that, I think. But I also thought that, as Brian's saying, boy, did Monty take the wrong person. Yeah. I had said that if it was Monty versus Taylor, that if Monty took Taylor to the final two, I thought he would win. I said in a real squeaker, I was thinking like a 5-4 vote that he could do it. And who surprised me? I thought for sure Monty had Terrence's vote. I suspected that he had Alyssa and Kyle's vote. And I wasn't sure about Joseph. I mean, Joseph was so tight with Taylor. You kind of have to think he was going there. But I wasn't sure what his attitude was in terms of, was he upset with Taylor or not? Or I figured he'd go that way. But I really figured Alyssa, Kyle, Terrence were votes for Monty. And then I figured like Indy would probably throw the vote his way as well. Didn't work out that way. And I got to say, I kind of started suspecting when the round table, we saw that part of the episode last night, and it seemed like everyone was certainly very, very happy with the game that Taylor had played and very receptive to everything that she'd put up with. And I wasn't sure how the jury was going to take that part. We just didn't see that many jury segments this season. So you didn't see from person to person as they came in the house what they were necessarily telling everyone else in there. So, I didn't know how the jury was going to respond. And then that speech that Taylor gave. Oh, my God. Oh, what a speech. I always worry and I always complain that they don't get enough time for speeches inside the Big Brother house as compared to Survivor, other shows. Well, she took advantage of it. And I guess that's the beauty pageant part of Taylor, who's used to giving very succinct, quick answers when challenged. And she did it. And the little questions from the juries, I thought she answered well. Monty, I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he said, but I really feel even his responses to some of the people really didn't do what he needed to do, obviously, to answer their questions. And it was 1919 is saying love Taylor's speech. I know. Is there anyone, and I got to think about this, just listening to her speech, if you had your eyes closed and you were listening, you probably give it to her right then, right? I mean, I feel like just she was so charismatic. It wasn't just the words, it's the way she presented them. Such a strong presence, the way she presented. Just what she said made me think that she was going to win it. But then the shots kept going to people like Indy and Jasmine, and they're winking and they're waving, and you think, this is it. She's got this thing wrapped up. She definitely, I mean, obviously she captured all the female votes on the jury. Poor Turner. And I've heard a little thing today that Turner thought everyone was voting for Monty. I just don't quite get that. You think that some people are going to vote for him, even the majority are going to vote for him, but I don't know how Turner ever thought that everyone was going to vote for Monty. That Monty was really going to get Brittany's vote, for example, instead of Taylor. I just don't get it. But yeah, Turner cast the one vote. I gotta say this. Turner really surprised me this season. Not that I thought he'd do horrible or anything else, but he went out really classy. He could have really been chapped at the fact that he got betrayed last minute by Monty. You know, there's a little part of him that won't ever say it out loud, but he's probably saying, "See, Monty, I should have told you so," or just, yeah. He's got to be, gloating's not the right word, but he's got to just be maybe furious internally that Monty made the choice that he made. I absolutely think Monty should have kept Turner. Didn't work out though. It's so hard working off of limited information, and you think we didn't know a lot of information about how the jury was behaving. Think about Taylor and Monty and Turner, all three. They never saw anything from the jury. All they knew was how people responded as they walked out the door and what was going to happen. And I got to say this, I think, and I've heard little rumors that at Roundtable, the jury had pretty much decided, yeah, Angie, thank you. I was going to say that. Angie saying that she heard the jury decided at the Roundtable they were going to vote Taylor. I saw one or two mentions of that. And I'll say a couple of things about that. One, we saw that Roundtable episode. What you guys may or may not realize, that Roundtable lasts for hours, an hour and a half or so minimum, it seems like. Maybe, I don't know, because when I did it, I was the person just like Brittany who walked out there, the surprise, fourth place finisher. And so they had already been out there talking for a while before I showed up. Now, let me say this. They went so out of their way to keep it quiet that no one knew that I was a person walking out. So when we saw Brittany, everyone's faces watching Brittany walk in, that's not scripted or anything else. During my season, they said, don't say a word, Cliff. Stay behind this panel. We don't want them to know anything. And so I listened to them talk for a while. And so when I walked out, it was a complete surprise. And so I'm sure it was with Brittany as well. But that round table lasts for a long time. And the way it pretty much works is Dr. Will sits up there and goes through each of the three contestants and asks pretty much everyone on the jury, why should they win? Why do you think they shouldn't win? I mean, they try to get every kind of edit you could possibly imagine, or every bit of content. And yeah, I'd heard that they pretty much decided during that conversation what was going to happen, which was different from my season. In mine, I really didn't get the feel that anyone was convincing other people at our roundtable. Everyone kind of already had some impressions of what they wanted to do, I think. But yeah, I heard that. And I wonder about this. They decided at roundtable, but there's a part of me that also wonders, did they not even decide a little bit before that? I have a feeling Michael is such a huge super fan. He came out fairly late. He had a lot of details about a lot of different things that happened within the leftovers and this and that. I have a feeling Michael had a lot of influence on that jury. And if Michael decided, he said during the thing that he was voting for the strongest player, which was he thought was Taylor. If he was planning to vote for Taylor, it wasn't Brittany that influenced the rest of the jury. I think it was probably Michael. Maybe it's just my own feel, but I have a feeling Michael had a lot of sway over everyone else in that house. And so when he worked his match, he's an attorney. He knew what to say to every single person in that house, right? So yeah, it was, by the time she gave her speech, it was a done deal. She could have just sat down and said, hand me the check right now, Julie. All right, couple of questions. Ma saying a Monty's mistake was the associated comp wins with strong gameplay. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right. That's not all the game is. But when I did my voting, I voted on three things when I was trying to decide between Holly and Mickey. The gameplay, the competition gameplay, the social game, and then jury management. Who did the best at not upsetting people, things like that. And if you try to do that in this situation, Monty obviously had the component side of it correctly. I don't think he did anything wrong from a jury management standpoint. I mean, I don't feel like anyone really was upset with Monty when they finished up or when they got into the house. Was there anyone? Maybe one or two, but I can't really think of anyone. Even Turner, who maybe has the right to be the most upset with Monty, he voted for him. So I felt like he handled the jury management well. It was just a social game. And I don't think Monty was horrible at that. It's just that Taylor was able to put a picture together that just let people see a different path than what we've seen in past seasons. She absolutely, she said just that. It doesn't have to be played, doesn't have to be voted on the way it's been done in the past. She just kind of opened people's eyes up. So here's the thing. I don't think Monty played a bad game. I think he played a great game. I think he played a game that I guess we got some sports going. I think he played a game that in most seasons very well could have won it. I mean, look at his game versus Xavier's from last season. It's not so different about being somewhat friendly, winning the comps when you need to win them, but not necessarily coming on so strong at the beginning of the season. He didn't do, well, I'm not gonna say he didn't do anything wrong. I think he made a little major flub there at the very end, but I felt like he did okay. It just wasn't enough up against Taylor. She's too charismatic. She won over everyone when she started talking. And now how much of that was because of what happened earlier in the season and the fact that she was so much a victim and so much being picked on and all of that. How much of her victory was because of people realizing how rough her first couple of weeks were versus towards the end where she just figured out how to land in the right locations, work with the right groups, and just survive from time to time. It's not as though she didn't win any comps, right? I mean, she won 2 HOHs, and I think if she hadn't won any at all, then someone could have argued maybe more that she got carried and all that. The fact that she won a couple So she did have some control over the season, and that she gave such a charismatic speech. It just all added up. I said before, because someone said, "Do you think they deserve to be there?" If it'd been Monty and Turner up there, I would have said either one of them deserves to be here, and either one deserves to absolutely win. Taylor, I was a little bit worried when she didn't win the first part or the second part of the HOH, because we've only had once or twice where someone won that didn't win either part of the HOH. And so I really was worried about that. But I'd said in one of my recaps, if she figures out a way to get Monty or Turner to take her to the final two, well, then she deserves to be there just because she figured out a way. And by God, she did it, didn't she? It was a lot of fun watching. All right, Jefferson Tucker. All right. I hear house guests referring to the house being cheaply made. Are they talking about the wall decor? Everything looks expensive on TV, but staging can be deceptive. Oh, Jefferson, here's the thing. The difference from what you're supposed to see on TV to what you don't always see on TV. Yeah, it's just like a TV set, a movie set, or anything else. The part that's supposed to be in front of the cameras looks pretty nice. The other parts, it's a work in progress. The things I always think of when someone asks me something about this, there's three things that I think of. First of all, I think of the floor, because I don't know if y'all remember our floor, and there's some of the floor this season that was the same stuff. It was like a kind of a wooden looking look, like hardwood floors or something. Well, the reality, it was like a nickel per square foot cheapo linoleum wood that you can buy at a lot of different, Home Depots, things like that. Nothing fancy whatsoever, as thin as it goes and everything. But it's because, they just need it to be there for the look rather than for it to last for everything else. But they had that. I would look up at the ceilings, and you normally don't see the ceilings, but I'd look up at the ceilings, and there were ceiling tiles where there were pieces that were chunks of the ceiling tile that were missing or miscolored, or just looked like they'd been there forever from the heat from the lamps that discolored them, things like that. And then the other thing I always think about is the memory wall or the memory board. You see all those pictures in front, and everything looks so nice and fancy. If you look behind it, there's all kinds of duct tape holding those wires in place, and the camera, those TV screens in place. We had during my season, it started shorting out just a little bit. I can't remember someone's. That's never a good sign when your picture just goes black instead of gray. But I remember the picture kind of went out once or twice, and we reached behind, and you could kind of move some wires and get it to work. When Big Brother called us out, they didn't want us messing with the electronics. But yeah, I remember the things that you don't see in front of the cameras. It's not that they're cheap. They're not designed to be permanent. They just are there to serve the purpose. And then you move on. The other thing I'll mention, then we'll go on to the question. All the props that you see there, all the things sitting on top of the dressers and all in the different rooms, the baskets up, all that stuff is glued on, nailed on. It's all secured in place because they don't want us house guests moving stuff around and screwing up shots or probably using them as weapons, probably. So everything's got it glued on so that you have the same look to all of the dressers and everything throughout the entire season. So yeah, I remember when I got in there, it's like, oh, I'm going to put my bag on top of this dresser. Well, no, I can't, because there's a little metal carriage that's glued to the top of it. So yeah, that was always fun. All right. Ronnie Hittner. What do you think would have happened if Monty took Turner? Well, I said a little earlier, I think Monty would have won by a decent amount, because I think Monty and Turner's games were close enough to each other. Now, I think we heard something about Michael saying that, that Monty kind of played it cool, that getting him out, getting Michael out was much more, I was going to say much more Turner, but really Turner was the one playing safe. Monty's the one that wanted to take the shot at Michael. I think a lot of Monty and Turner's games were comparable, kind of the way they played the game, the people they were friendliest with, not so much. And I think that Monty would have won a whole lot of votes. I think Turner could have gotten, would he have gotten Alyssa's vote? I don't know. I'd love to ask that question. I'm going to ask Alyssa. One of these times I'm going to run in all these house guests. I'm going to ask Alyssa how that would work. I may know. You may know based on over the next few weeks what happens between her and Kyle and all that. But I think Turner could have maybe gotten Alyssa's vote. I think he would have gotten Terrence's vote. Don't think he would have gotten Jasmine's vote. I don't know. There's so many wild cards if it'd been the two of them. which way would Brittany and Michael have voted, one way or the other? I don't know. I think Monty would have won. I think he would have won by a lot. I definitely think he would have at least gotten the majority. So yeah, I've had people say this is just like Cody and Derek. Nah, I disagree with that. I think Cody taking Derek instead of Victoria, a lot of people thought that was a mistake, and I think he had to worry about that as well. The difference is, I think Monty absolutely thought he had this thing if he took Taylor, and I don't know. Monty may have been thinking too much to the earlier parts of the season where the women were upset with her. You know, Jasmine had said things, Indy had said things. No, they didn't really seem to be on good terms at all with Taylor. He knew that Terrence was on bad terms with Taylor, and so I think he was thinking too much about the way the jury had left the house without really realizing that time solves a lot of wounds, and you get away and you hear other people come in, you start seeing this person continuing to stay in the house, winning contests here and there, and your perceptions can change. And I think that's what happened, and I don't think Monty properly accounted for that. I remember when I was there, when I was thinking, man, maybe I can make it to final two. And I remember worrying about people like Kat Dunn, because she was mad. When she walked out of the house, she said something like, oh, if you make a deal with Cliff, just be prepared. He'll go make a deal with someone else 5 minutes later. And I remember thinking, she's so chapped at me, I will never get her jury vote. And so I always counted her as being against me if I made it to final two. Well, then I found out later that she would have been one of the ones kind of championing my cause. So you never know once they make it to the jury. That's one of those little wild cards that you got to think about. All right, what else do we have on here? Mark Taylor, what grade would you give this season? I'll give an A-. I'm going to go a little lower than that. I'm going to give it a B-, maybe. I think it's, and that's just with the assumption that a C is the in between. So I'm going to say it's a little bit better than most seasons, but there's two reasons that I'm going to drop it down below your A-. One is because Michael just won so many competitions, and because of that, I don't think the comp wins were spread out enough across all the different house guests in that house. My season, we had, Lord, the first 6 HOHs were 6 different people. And veto wins were also spread out. Now, Mickey eventually turned it on, but the first half of our season, a lot of people were winning a lot of different competitions. So you got to see how different people operated. This season, because Michael had such a stranglehold on the veto, and it wasn't just that he won those veto comps, but after he started winning them, everyone was worried that he also could win the HOHs and everything. So it was just almost kind of a hands-off and so much of a fear that the power was so concentrated in one person's game that I think we didn't see enough of how other people may have played the game. What would Brittany have done if she'd won one of these HOHs? How, as much as she tried to spread herself around and have deals with everyone, where would her true intentions have lain or what? There's several people that I would have loved to have seen win an HOH and have a little bit more power. And it just didn't happen because it was so concentrated in a couple of people. So I'll knock it down a little bit just because there was such a dominant player in this game. The other thing I'll knock it down a little bit is just because there were episodes that just weren't always fun to watch. Y'all know what I mean, right? I mean, it's not as though I expect Big Brother to be completely insulated from everything else that happens in the real world. It's a microcosm of life. And as a result, you're going to have real life issues and problems come into that house. As much as I wish that wasn't the case, it is the case. And we saw some of that this season with the bullying at the early part. There were tears shed and stressed out situations that just weren't fun to watch. I mean, I like the drama. I like the chaos. I don't mind, as long as I'm not in the house, I don't mind people yelling at each other and accusing people of lying and all that. That's what makes this game fun in some ways. But I want that to be based on strategic plays and flipping on someone and things like that. I don't like when it's a situation where someone suddenly is seeing is feeling like they're being personally attacked, or where they're being, we're really labels are being applied that are bad, and that goes across so many people in this house. I felt bad. There's just a lot of people I felt bad for in this house because of what happened. And so I knock it down just a little bit because it just wasn't always an exciting, enjoyable experience. But I guess that's part of it too. But there were certainly times where I was like, oh God, this just, I don't like seeing this. I was cringing over it, and I'm sure y'all were too. So because of that, I'll give it probably a B minus or so. All right, Gloria L. Joseph is such a gentleman. Yeah, I like Joseph. I gotta say, he was such a surprise. We didn't even see him in the preseason review, right? How would this game have been different if Marvin had been in there instead of Joseph? I don't know anything about Marvin in terms of how he plays the games and everything. I've watched plenty of Instagram stories and stuff from him after he ended up getting cast and then not so much cast on Big Brother. Damn, that guy's got muscles like this. I'm really curious to see how you would have done on some of these competitions. But yeah, you know what I like about Joseph, and it's kind of the same thing I liked about Monty at the start of the season. It's their smile. I thought Monty had a fantastic smile. It just made him seem very open and friendly. Joseph was like that the whole time. Joseph's one of those that I'm looking forward to hanging with him, to talking at some point in the future, because he just seems like a very nice guy. But beyond that, I thought he played a fantastic game. It got cut short because of the Dire Fest and all of that. I don't think it would have happened if they hadn't been split up. It's just one of those weird twists. I was a little worried about him, that he was playing double agent. Sometimes that can come back and burn you a little bit, but it worked for him. And I thought he was doing a fantastic job. Here's a question for all y'all out there. Who from this cast would y'all like to come back and see for an all-star season? Now, it may not be for a few years from now, but who would you like to see come back for all-stars? Obviously, Taylor is going to be right up there for an all-star, right? I mean, she won it, and that seems obvious. I'd love to see Joseph come back as well. I'd like to see Michael come back as well. There's probably one or two others that are out there, but right off the bat, those are the three that and maybe Turner. I don't know. You can only get so many from one season, but those maybe the 3 or 4 that I'd think about. All right, Melissa Scarnage saying, what are your opinions on Kyle getting nominated for America's Favorite Player? Well, I was a little bit surprised. Were we not? I saw people posting saying vote for Kyle for AFP, but I don't know. There's 2 things that come into mind. One, I think they never release a vote counts, but if they did, Taylor, she had to just have this thing running away, right? I saw people saying they voted 50,000 times with fake emails and everything. Now, do I believe they really voted 50,000 times? Probably not. But 5,000 times, a couple of hundred, yeah, I could see something like that. So I think Taylor won this thing going away. But because Taylor and Joseph were kind of, like this, and people tie the two of them together a lot, I think Joseph really suffered because so many people were so focused on voting for Taylor. And so I think that hurt him. I think everyone probably suffered a little bit in terms of votes that they got. Kyle getting the votes that he did, I think there's some sympathies out there. I think after all of that happened, Kyle was very contrite, very apologetic. He said what needed to be said. Now, I know there's some people that believe he's sincere. Others maybe don't believe it as much and all that. But the reality was he seemed very apologetic for some assumptions he made and some of the stuff that happened. And so I think because of that, and then seeing him seeing the impact that this potentially could have, I think he created some sympathies as a result of that. So, I'm in my 50s. I can look at people there in their 20s. He's almost in his 30s, but I look at people and say there's a lot of people in this world who have a whole lot more learning to do as you go through life. And that's one of the reasons I've always said I'm not going to judge anyone based on what they do in that house. I'll get to know them outside the house and all that and see what that's about. And so, yeah, I think that's part of it. Without going into long discussions, I think there was a little sympathy generated just because it was such an impactful situation that happened. But I do think Taylor getting so many votes probably affected it as well. So yeah, a little bit of both of those. All right, Chaz saying, when you voted for the winner of Big Brother 21, were you or anybody else worried about not being in the majority, instead just voting for who they personally felt played the best game? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, yeah, I did not know who I was going to vote for really until I was sitting up on that stage, listening to their speeches and their jury questions and all of that. Here's my thing. My concern wasn't maybe so much whether I was voting with everyone else or not. I mean, I guess if I'd been the only person to vote one way, everyone else voted the other way, I'd wonder if I just missed. I just wasn't part of the conversation, that I missed out on it. But I wasn't worried about that because I realized as the fourth place person, I hadn't had time to interact with the jury the way everyone else had. They got to hang out at the jury house, talk, all. I didn't get to do that. I never went to the jury house. So even if I had voted differently from everyone else, I figured they had information I didn't have. So I wasn't really worried about that. My concern a little bit was, do I vote for the person that I think America is going to like the most? Or do I vote for the person that I think truly played the best game within the game of Big Brother? That was, at least for my season, that was what I struggled with a little bit, because I felt like at the end of the day, I truly felt like Mickey played a better game. If for no other reason, the fact that he convinced Holly to throw the Final Four HOH competition, a competition that she would have easily won. And if she had won that, guaranteed Final Three, and he convinced her to throw it. That right there made me think, well, geez, this guy. So I truly thought he played the better game. But I also thought that in terms of America and the viewing public and everything, Holly was maybe a little bit more likable. And so there was a part of me that said, do I really want to vote for the person that maybe America doesn't like? Are they not going to like me as a result of it? And so that was my challenge. But at the end of it, I love the game of Big Brother too much. I had gone in saying, I'm not going to be a bitter juror. I'm going to vote on who I truly thought played the best game. And that was the decision I eventually made on it. So yeah, at least for me, it wasn't voting with the majority of the house, but I'm sure other people, every person voting has different motivations and thinking and desires with their votes. None of them right, none of them wrong. It's just based on our own personal experiences and everything. I'm sure there's some people that think exactly that. I'm sure Turner thought when it was 8-1, when he saw those other keys being pulled out, Turner's probably saying, no, geez, what did I miss out on? What conversations did I not hear about? All right. May saying, was surprised Indy voted for Taylor. Yeah. That's where I think the heat of the moment, the stress of being in that house, the paranoia, because here's the thing, when you're in that house, you sometimes say stuff about other people. And it's not that you believe that in your soul. It's that if I can make this other people, if I can keep the target on this other person, then it means the target's not on me. And if that means I have to kind of drag the other person a little bit, yeah, it's not the best thing in the world to do. But from a gameplay standpoint, I may say things about the other person. I may put a little bit more hyperbole on it. I may exaggerate a little bit. I may act more offended than I actually am. I may do all of those things inside the house just to keep from people looking at me and pointing fingers at me. And then once you're through with that, once you get out of the house, some of that stress is gone, the paranoia, you get back to a little bit more of a real person type mentality. Well, then suddenly some of the things you did and say don't really mean as much as they did. And I'd like to think, I hope that's the case with Indy, that because she said, what'd she say? She wanted to throw hot soup on Taylor or something, but she gets out, and it's hard. One thing 24/7, everyone says a couple of stupid things in there, but I hope when she got out that, she had more time to reflect. And I think Taylor's speech, you can say that they already decided at round table, and maybe they did, but Taylor's speech certainly was confirmation to everyone on that jury. So yeah, I was surprised until I heard Taylor's speech, and then not so surprised. The one that surprised me, of everyone who voted for Taylor, the one that surprised me was Terrence, because he seemed very much kind of in with the bros. He'd been festy besties with those guys. And, he'd had some harsh things occasionally to mention about Taylor as well. But I like seeing it because it suggests to me that even some of the things that he said that were a little cringy, right? But the fact that he turned around and voted for her anyway, I hope it's because that's the true Terrence and not necessarily the person who was in the house who was fighting for his life and maybe as a result occasionally said some things he regrets. And I'm sure that's the case. I am so excited to reach out to all of these house guests. I've talked to one or two. Most of them have been in jury already, so I haven't had a chance. I haven't done it right now because I figured they're just getting overwhelmed. I gotta say, the first couple of days after you get out of that house is just so much going on. You can't even think. You can't even get your head straight. So I'm gonna let everyone settle down. Once some of the media's worn off, I'm gonna reach out to all of them, tell them all congratulations. Welcome to the Big Brother family, and I look forward to meeting each and every one of them at some point on down the road. It's going to be fun. I want to pick their brains. I want to get the inside scoop from some of these folks. All right, Amanda Lowe, how long did it take you to get back to normal after you left the Big Brother house? It took a while. It probably took through, I don't know, past Christmas, which is what, another 3 months or so, or something like that. I'll tell y'all a quick little story. After we got out and were released, my family was out there to see me and everything. And we got up the next morning and my family said, "Where do you want to go eat? You're a free man." You feel like that. I'm out. I skate. You're a free man. Where do you want to eat? It's LA. They've got everything possible. And I told them, I said, I can't decide. I've been so used to just having food sitting there. You eat what they give you. That's it. I've gotten so used to other people telling me when I can sleep, when I can stay awake, when I have to go talk to someone, when I can't. I had a hard time making decisions right off the bat. It was like, y'all decide. I'll go wherever. I just don't want to have to be trying to make decisions on stuff and everything. So that was short term, a little while. I'm an opinionated enough person. That went away pretty quick. But as far as getting back to normal, it's hard. I had dreams. I had nightmares for months afterwards of that I was still in the house. I think I've said this before on here, so some of y'all bear with me. I've heard it, but we all have those dreams, right? Where you suddenly dream that it's the last day of a semester and you've got to take a test and you can't find where the room is. You forgot what subject it was. You realize you never went to class. All those kind of stress dreams. My dreams for multiple months after being in the house were dreams that, oh my gosh, it's time to vote or it's time for eviction. And there's people in this other room that I don't even know their names. They don't know who I am. How can I convince them to keep me in the house? And it was stress dreams based all around Big Brother and voting and people coming after you and everything else. So it does a huge number on you. And I'd like to think I got a few more years on me than anyone else. And so I feel like I was able to handle some of the adjustment and handle that house a little bit better than some other people were. But it affects us all. It's just a little bit like PTSD and all that. The tiniest little taste of what some of our military and troops go through and all that, it just gives me whole new respect for, I was in a house and no one's shooting guns at me. For those guys to be out there fighting on, now I understand a little bit of what they go through. Gotta be so tough. So tough. Yeah, it hits you for a while. All right. Chaz saying, would you work with Michael or get him out first? Oh, that's a hard one because it's easy to say get him out first once you see what he's capable of. But my thinking is that I probably would work with him and use him as a bit of a meat shield, hopefully work with him so he protects you. But at the same time, kind of hope in the back of your head that at some point, something happens that someone else gets Michael out. The blood's not on your hands, but that big target is gone. So work with him until halfway through, 2/3 of the way through the season. That's a hard part. At what point does your ally suddenly become your enemy? And it can happen just like that. It may just be one conversation that you have with another person, one time that you see your tight ally walking out of a room having talked to someone that you didn't think they should be talking to, and you're ready to pull a trigger. I know Nicole during my season, she said at one point her Long Island mentality was get them, pull the trigger on them before they pull the trigger on you. And that's the hard part, deciding at what point, that split second, you pull the trigger on them right before they get you. So, yeah, I would have, knowing the way I play the game, I'd buddy up to them. I would played with them for the first half, 2/3, and then tried to get someone else to go after them. If that didn't work, then yeah, I would go after them. All right. What else do we have on here? Vicky Stone. What in the world are you going to do with all the sleep you're getting now that Big Brother's over? You know what? I went to bed at a decent hour last night, and it was glorious. It was incredible. I've been so used to staying up so late watching these live feeds. This season, if Big Brother doesn't go back to the old rules of you've got to stay up from 10 to 10, if they let them sleep throughout the day the way they did it again this season, I don't know if I can do it anymore. I may have to. I don't know. I don't know how I'll do it. It was so horrific sitting there, because I watch these live feeds, and every once in a while, they cut away, or you just see them playing cards. There's nothing going on. Next thing you know, falling asleep while I'm watching it. And there's so many times where I'd wake up and say, oh gosh, they're still awake. I'd look at the clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and say, oh my God, they are still awake. And then I've got to pull up the live feeds and scoot back an hour and see what I missed, 30 minutes, whatever. So, yeah, I appreciate the sleep. This is my hibernation period. I'm like, Monty was in there saying, oh, bear power and all that. Here's the bear. I'm the one all season long, no sleep whatsoever. Now I got October to sleep, so I'll do a little bit of that. Now I'm still doing Survivor recaps and all, but yeah, it'll be nice. Hey, I got to go outside, see what it's like outdoors again. I feel like I haven't done that forever. I'm gonna pick up running again because I put that off because I was so busy with this. So yeah, life goes on. It's just like being off season now in the sports. What I feel like in a lot of ways. All right, Karen W saying, with all the wasted food this season, tell me about it. Maybe they could add a vertical garden. That'd be kind of cool. Here's the thing. Do y'all remember, was it season 1 or season 2? It was way back at early Big Brother. They had chickens out there, right? How cool. If you gave me some chickens, a goat, I'd be out there milking that goat. I'd be doing whatever just to interact with something other than the other knuckleheads in that house. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have something like that. But if they gave me some kind of garden, because I love growing stuff, give me a garden, just something. Because even the grass in the backyard isn't real grass. It's artificial turf. There is nothing living in that entire house except for the house guest. So, yeah, if they had given me just the tiniest little plant, give me a single bean. I guess I should have tried to grow a bean while I was in there or something. But give me something to grow, and I would have been the most tender, attentive gardener ever. So, yeah, give me a crop of something, and we're going to fest. We're going to feast. Right. I think that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Give some tasks to the house guest in there to cut back on some of the boredom. And then maybe that's why Big Brother doesn't want it. They want you to be as bored as possible. If I'm out there tending some little garden, then that means I'm not inside conspiring against someone else. And so maybe Big Brother intentionally wants us as bored as possible. But yeah, if they'd give us a couple of little critters, we had to chase sheep one episode. If they'd let us keep one of those sheep, that would have been the most well cared for sheep in the entire United States, because we would have loved that thing. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to throw that as a suggestion for next season. We share the same affliction. Let's see. Hold on. Do you recommend winning the first HOH? It depends on your situation. Normally, if you're just a regular little person that can come in there and blend in with everyone else, which means that you don't look like the most athletic person. You don't look like the nerdiest person. If you're just a generic kind of house guest in there and you feel comfortable enough, I think there's something to be said for going under the radar a little bit. But if you're someone like me who knows from day one that you are going to be a target in that house, I think you got to go for the HOH. In my position, I always intended to win the first HOH for 2 reasons. One, because I knew I was going to be a target if I didn't win it. And I was put up on week number 1. Thank you, Christy Murphy. So I wanted to win the HOH just so I was safe for that first week. I told the producers throughout my casting process, said, look, because they all said, oh, Cliff, the old person goes home first a lot of times, right? Like, yeah, you've told me 20 times and I'm watching all the shows. I get it, guys. But I told him, I said, I understand completely. My objective is to stay safe for the first couple of weeks. And if I have at least 2, 3 weeks in that house, I think I can win some people over and just be friendly enough. And I'll be okay from that point on. It's those first couple of weeks that are going to be dangerous for me. So I would have tried to win the HOH to protect myself. But the other thing, too, is that if you don't look like you fit in with everyone else, if you look like you're a little bit an outlier, and that could be, it could be age, it could be ethnicity, it could be regional where you live, it could be, nerdy versus, preppy. There's so many things that could make you an outlier. But if you are an outlier in that house, people maybe aren't as prone to make alliances with you or approach you for deals and all that. Just my opinion. And certainly being 30 years older, 35 years older than anyone in that house, I didn't feel like I necessarily was involved in all the strategic conversations and everything else. You win HOH, suddenly people are knocking on your door and considering you a little bit more of a viable alliance member. And so, yeah, I absolutely wanted to win HOH. And if I went back in the house, I'd do exactly the same thing over again. But for a lot of people, you can slide on the first couple, and you'll be okay. And then that allows you to kind of see how the power structure is created, who's in power, who's not, and you don't have any blood on your hands right off the bat, so it's easier to slide in with another group, I think. But yeah, I'm always going for the HOH because I know they're coming after me, especially if I ever go back in the house. Yeah, they're going to be coming for me so quick. Unless I'm up against Michael or something. And then I'll be pointing the finger at him. Hey, you better believe that. All right. Renee Otulowski. I hope I got that right, Renee, but I'm trying. Otulowski. Do y'all keep the costumes, and does the jury determine the winner before final two? We definitely do not determine the winner before final two. Again, I didn't know until I was sitting up in the finale chairs which way I was going to go. I don't know if y'all saw it last night, but the way it works is basically there's 9 jurors, there's 2 final 2 people, and for the most part, each final 2 person is asked 3 questions. And that's because if I recall, the 9 jurors, we kind of split up the questions amongst ourselves, who's going to ask what. And if you're supposed to ask a question of the person who ends up not being one of the final contestants, then you don't ask a question. So there's a couple of people probably had questions prepared for Turner and they didn't get to ask it. But you have those questions taped up underneath the seat so you can pull them out when it's time to ask your question. But you also have a little bag underneath there that has 2 keys in it, one for each of the final 2 people. And so they tell everyone, all the jurors say, keep that bag secret. Don't let anyone see what you're doing. Keep it covered and all of that when you cast your vote. And I remember sitting there holding that bag thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do right now? I just don't know how I'm going to vote. So no, that's the long answer. The short answer is some people may know, but I think most of us don't really know before the final 2 how you're going to go. The other question, do you get to keep your costumes and everything? No, I mean, yes and no. We kept our costumes while we were in the house. Now, it seems like this season, the costume, maybe the budget went up a little bit. The costumes were a little fancier. Seems like maybe they had to turn their costumes in more often. But for us, we kept our costumes after the competition was over. I would keep it with my suitcase with my other clothes. When I left the house, I had them all packed into the suitcase. I was like, I'm going to have all these costumes. No, that's not the way it works. You leave the house with that one little black bag, but production looks through that little black bag and your main suitcase, and they decide what you get to keep and what you don't get to keep. And the policy is this: if you came into the house with it, you get to keep it. If you didn't come into the house with it, it's probably not going to stay in your suitcase. They're going to yank it back out. So you don't get to keep any of that. But later on, a few weeks, a month after the season is over, Big Brother sends us all a big box with all kinds of mementos in it. And so when I got mine, I opened it up and I had, what I had a cast photo. I had my key. I had some souvenirs from the HOH I won and all that. But I also had most of the costumes that were in there, my BB comic shirt and others. So you get it, but not until the season is complete. And so they control that part. So yeah, we got it, but not walking out with it. All right. Andrea saying, do you think they should do another Dire Fest Seemed outside was a punishment with slop like food. That was tough. I'm amazed that they thought that could work. Being outside 24 hours a day with the heat, with the airplanes flying overhead, with porta potties out there, that was about as brutal as I've seen. Because it wasn't just for one day; it was for a full week. If they want to do it again, go for it. I tell you this much: if they do it again, anyone who watched this season is going to be fighting like you've never seen before to try to convince the person to keep them inside the house instead of sending them outdoors. I gotta say this though, from my standpoint, it doesn't really bother me. I do a lot of camping. My son was in Boy Scouts. My family, we love the outdoors. We go outside all the time, except during Big Brother season. But for me to be sleeping outside, eating eating spam, eating beanie weenies, trust me, I've eaten a lot of spam, a lot of beanie weenies over the years. None of that really phases me. Even the sun, I'm used to that. Get under a little shade, you'll be fine. So now porta potty, sharing with a whole bunch of other people, not my top choice of toiletry situations, but beyond that, I don't think it would have phased me as much as some people. Alyssa, I have a feeling Alyssa's not really used to that kind of lifestyle. So for some people, it'll be a little bit rough. I would have been okay with it. But having said that, that was pretty rough. That was pretty extreme. I don't know if they do that again or not. I kind of wish they would have more punishments like that, though, where you just extra. No one cares about being have-not anymore. It doesn't seem extreme enough. Do some more stuff with it to make it a little bit more intense, I think, and I'd be good with that. I think it'd be great. Wow, it's already 7:56. I knew this was going to go quick, guys. All right, we're going to go through a few more questions. I'll try to get to as many as I can here. Mark saying, "What's your opinion on Survivor early season favorite?" Oh man, Mark, I don't know. I watched the first episode. I did a recap on it. The three tribes are so evenly balanced. I don't know yet. I think I think we need another week or two to tell. There's I like a lot of things. There's no one I dislike in its cast so far, but ask me again next week, and I'll have more of an opinion for you. Lucinda saying, are there overnight feeds for Survivor, or do you just see when we do? Yeah, no, I just see it when you do. How cool would it be if I said, oh, yeah, I've had a camera out there on the island of Fiji watching this whole time. I've already got it all figured. No, I see exactly what y'all do, which makes it a little bit tougher due to the recaps because you don't get the insight into the strategies and everything else. You only see what the editors want you to see and how they want to spin the stories. And the difference between Survivor and Big Brother, they know how it all ends. They can craft a story from start to finish before we ever watch the first episode. So you've got to be a little more cautious or trying to read between the lines on how some of that's going. Whereas Big Brother, you're watching those live feeds on day one. Producers don't know any more than we do how this thing's going to turn out at the end of the season. So I feel like Big Brother's just much more raw and real and natural as opposed to watching Survivor. So yeah, it's easier for me in terms of I'm only doing one recap a week. So it's a lot less time investment, but a little bit tougher to kind of figure out what actually is going on behind what's actually being said. But I try to do that as much as I can. But yeah, if only I had a fly on the wall sitting there in Fiji that could give me a little more scoop information. Yeah, I'm watching it just like y'all are. All right, what else do we have on here? Jane Heaven saying, would you like to have dinner? Oh, who would you like to have dinner with this season? Oh, that's pretty good. You know, I'm trying to think who I wouldn't want to have dinner with from this season. I kind of think all of them, even the ones that would drive me a little crazy, they all have different perspectives on what happened and their viewpoints and everything else. So I don't know. I mean, I had my fair. I'll put it this way. I don't think Terrence played the greatest game I've ever seen, but being one older guy, talking to another older guy, I also think we had some shared perspectives on what it was like being in there. So it'd be interesting to get his thoughts on it and kind of say, oh yeah, I know what that's like, Terrence. Yeah, things like that. There's people that just had the big smile. Someone like a Joseph, that'd be fun to kind of just talk to, because I think he'd just be fun to ask questions of and all of that. Brittany being a little bit older and having gone out in fourth place just like I did, So I can almost find some similarities with just almost everyone in there. Even the people that I may have made a little fun of throughout the season or ragged on a little bit and things like that. Even those kind of people, I'd still do dinner with them because and I'm not going to throw out a name. I'll just let y'all say, pick the person that you thought was the worst, the one you disliked most of everyone in that house, right? And some of us may have the same names, others may be different. Whoever that is, if I had the chance, I would go have dinner with them just to find out, are they really like they were in the house? Or are they completely different? And they just let the game overwhelm them and they ended up just getting, caught up in the moment. And so even the people that I don't necessarily feel were portrayed in the best light, I still want to go hang with them, find out what they truly are. I think they all deserve for us to give them the benefit of the doubt and see what they're like beyond what happens in that game. Because that game is such an artificial construct. It's crazy. All right, 7:59. We'll do quick though. Lauren says, was there camera in the porta potty? I don't know. I wasn't there. I doubt it. I hope not. But there's no you can't expect any privacy. So whatever. If they always told us there's cameras in the main bathroom, but we won't be turning them on unless two of you go in there together, and then we're gonna think you're talking strategy. I hope that's what you're doing. And then we'll turn them on. But no, I doubt it in porta potty, but who knows? All right, guys, with that, we're going to shut it down. It is 8 o'clock. Couple of things real quick. First of all, as I said before, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. If you get a chance, go out there and the thumbs up are always appreciated. Thank you. The other thing I'm going to mention is that two things. One, October 5th here in Houston, Wendell and Bryce are coming into town. We're going to have a Survivor watch party. If you're in this part of the country and you want to come down and hang in Houston and watch Survivor, I'm going to be there. A whole lot of people are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So check it out. Go out to Wendell Holland's Instagram. He's got some details. The other thing, if you've enjoyed my recaps of Big Brother, if you enjoy these Monday Night Live shows, if you're financially able to do so, please consider a donation to Hearts of Reality. Give Kids a World Village is the village in Orlando, critically ill children, their families. They host them there. It's such a worthwhile charity. I'm working with them. I'm going to be going in December. So if you want to go, you can buy tickets and come hang out with all kinds of reality people. We'll talk about that more on down the road. But I put a link. The very first comment of this show is a link to the fundraising page. Again, if you're able, I don't charge for this show and I never will. But if you're able to, please go up there and at least take a look at it. Even if you don't donate, read about this organization and tell other people about it because it's such an incredible organization. So, guys, thank you for that. I love having y'all out here. Thank you so much. So I'm going to sign off. A big old SKD 143 to all of y'all. Love my wife, love my kids, love all of y'all. Have a fantastic week. Remember, I'm going to drop an episode on Survivor Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then I'll be back again on Monday. I'm probably going to do a quick little a quick little deal on Big Brother, how I predicted everyone to do versus how they actually did. I may do that and drop it tomorrow. We'll see. So turn on those notifications. Guys, have a great week. I will talk to y'all again soon. Cheers, my friends.